Welcome to Wisconsin Weather Experts. I have Chief Meteorologist Rob Haspel again with me today by my side, and we have a full-packed show of things from Mars, going from space to a big change in temperatures to fall to even heading on my next part of my trip in Alaska.
That's right. We're going to be all over the world and all over the cosmos as well. In fact, today in 1976, the world got to witness something. It was the landing of the Viking 2 spacecraft on Mars. Yeah, it joined Viking 1 in the search for life on the red planet. I think you're getting some pretty basic NASA video here, not the archive footage of the actual Viking 2. Didn't quite have the HD back then. Yeah, but Viking 2 did land on this date back in 1976, looking for life on the red planet. It set down in an area called Utopia, where it was believed that the planet would be more fertile to sustain life. Of course, we now know through several repeated missions with some higher tech gadgets like you're seeing there, there was life, maybe, but not right now. At least not that we have found yet. We are going to keep looking, and Elon wants us to move there, so you never know.
I don't know if I want to move there. It looks like a lot of dirt.
It does look like a lot of dirt. And very different atmosphere. Lots of things that are downsides, but fascinating and quite a date in history for sure. Let's come back down to planet Earth for the next one, though. Yeah,
keeping back up with the flooding that we had, the historic flooding earlier last month. If you do need help after the flooding, Wisconsin is willing to help you. There's a one-stop to get all your resources and your needs. The American Red Cross is hosting multi-agency resource centers for anyone impacted by the devastated flooding. What you'll need to do is make sure that you can go to some of these areas. We are talking about the King Community Center on Violet. Is that how you pronounce it?
Valete.
I'm going to get that now. Third time's a charm. But don't worry, there's going to be more around the corner. If you're looking for assistance, organizers say all you need to do is bring proof of your address.
Each one of these groups are represented. Some will have everything from clothing to food to things like that, as well as the Red Cross. We are here maintaining shelter and feeding.
And there will be a resource center today at McCarthy Park Pavilion in West Allis from 11 to 6. On Saturday, it will be over at the Mary Ryan Boys and Girls Club on Sherman.
That's right. We have an update this morning, or this afternoon now, on the water emergency, of course, in Williams Bay. The city council says it's going to try adding chlorine to the water to destroy the contaminants. It comes after village leaders issued a no-drink order last Thursday after 2 children became sick with blue baby syndrome. The city then spent the last few days handing out free water bottles to residents. The water emergency is still in effect, and there's no timeline on when that will be fixed. The story just gets me because, you know, as a father, you understand how challenging it is for young parents or parents of young children, and to then, have this hit the way it hit and the way they discovered it. It's just heartbreaking. And of course, a beautiful community, Williams Bay, down around the Lake Geneva area. Been there a few times, and I just feel for them today for sure. In fact, I was just in that community on the weekend, driving around and seeing the signs and seeing the water drop off and pick up areas. It was a challenging moment to see that. And again, our hearts go out to them for sure.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those areas that have been hit certainly impacted here as well. But we're going to take things that may have caused a bigger impact and, in fact, a drier impact in Arizona. We're talking about another dust storm that impacted areas of Arizona. Look at this video, and this is from yesterday evening. While it was relatively calm there on Tuesday, the monsoon could be making a big return very soon that potentially could bring some localized flash flooding to the area. So we'll be looking more on that from our sister station in Phoenix.
That's right. It's not like dry yet wet phenomenon, because it takes thunderstorms and downpours associated with the thunderstorms to create the outflow winds that kick up these dust storms. But then it has to also be dry enough for there to be dust. So it's a weird combination, and it's been fascinating, although the poor people of Phoenix and Arizona in general have been dealing with it day after day, it seems, this year. All right, let's go to Hawaii, where Kilauea is again erupting. It continues to sporadically shoot molten rock into the air. Tuesday's burst was the volcano's 32nd episode since December. Scientists believe they are all part of the same eruption because magma has been flowing the same pathway to the surface. So far, far, the lava has been contained within the summit crater inside Hawaii's Volcanoes National Park and hasn't really threatened homes or buildings so far. Park visitors can see the eruption in person, while others can watch popular live streams, of course, offered by 3 different camera angles made possible by the U.S. Geological Survey. Kilauea is on, of course, the main Hawaii island there.
Doesn't stop.
That's right. So the start to September is, of course, underway. Yes, Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks is going to talk about the cool down that's coming this week.
Well, get ready for a cool down. We have a cold front coming through on Wednesday, and that's going to usher in cooler air, not only for the end of the week, but look at this. This outlook is actually provided by the Climate Prediction Center, and this is for the time frame September 7th to the 11th. So we're going into next week here, and look at the big area of below average temperatures here for a big chunk of the country. Then we have above average temperatures off to the west in places like Montana. So we are still going to be in this below average category here for a good chunk of next week. But what I think will happen after this point, once we get more into mid-September, I do think we're going to have at least a brief warm-up on the way, and then it's going to be kind of the classic roller coaster ride of fall as we head towards late September. But I do think we'll come out of this at least for a couple of days in mid-September. But let's talk about the rest of this week here, and then as we head into parts of next week as well. So what you'll notice here, these are the below average temperatures, and the above average temperatures off to the west. Kind of matches, right, what this Climate Prediction Center had said there in their forecast even for next week. But look at this. In behind that cold front tomorrow, yep, some cool Canadian air spinning on down. We're going to feel it by the end of the week and even into the weekend. I mean, look at this. Very fall-like temperatures here as this cooler air mass remains in place straight through the weekend. And this translates, by the way, to highs in the 60s. So it does look like a very fall-like stretch for us here through the weekend, even into early next week. Now we're getting a little bit warmer as we head towards next week, Tuesday. And you can see the heat still building in the Intermountain West. And I think as we head towards the middle part of the month, some of that will start to sneak in. You can already see that by late next week, that we're already kind of starting to see that nudge up to the northeast. So the bottom line, we've got some fall-like weather on the way, and it starts with the passing of that cold front on Wednesday evening.
All right. Might see Tom out there in sweaters pretty soon.
Probably,
He's
yeah.
got the no taiga look going on right now, but with this chill, we'll get some sweaters out. Some
Flannel
hoodies.
weather.
Flannel weather. I'm up
It's
for
here.
that.
We're
It's
all
comfy.
ready for it.
I
It's
don't mind
comfy.
that.
It's easy to get on and off. But yes, as Tom mentioned, we're going to talk about some of the cooler temperatures moving in with the cold fronts. And this is where the front is currently placed. We're seeing it stretch over Lake Michigan into southern portions of Wisconsin and continuing into the Great Plains. So the cold air he was talking about, that's just off to our north and will be here later on today. But even as we zoom further north, we're going to have a secondary front in Canada develop, and that is going to bring us a secondary surge of that cold air by the end of the week. Here locally across the state of Wisconsin, we're expected to have highs today ranging from the low 50s near Rhinelander to the upper 60s. Maybe an isolated 70 degrees closer to areas by Kenosha. So 60s are going to be more favorable statewide for our temperatures today. But as we head into tonight and tomorrow morning and that cold air really starts to move in, our temperatures tomorrow morning could be quite chilly. We're talking about the low to mid 40s across southern portions of the state, while northern portions could even see some upper 30s. It's going to be one of those starts where kids are going to need to have some sort of layer or jacket as they're heading out to the bus stop. Statewide, we're expected to stay a little bit cooler even heading into Thursday. Highs in the low 50s to low 60s, maybe a couple mid 60s closer to the border. We continue then to hang on to more of that range of low to mid 60s here locally as we move through the end of the week and into the weekends. So even though we're in September, our temperatures are going to be considered unseasonably cool for this time of year. The number at the bottom here is going to represent how much colder we are compared to the normal high temperature. And notice we're going to be ranging from about 10 to 15 degrees below where we should be. So it's definitely going to be a big shock and change to your body as we head through the rest of the week into the weekend. We could even bring back some 70s next week and gradually maybe see some more seasonable temperatures arriving then. Where we're also seeing unseasonable temperatures, but in the opposite direction, it's the Pacific Northwest, heading from Montana to Idaho to Washington and Oregon, still dealing with heat watches and warnings there, where potential record-breaking high temperatures are favorable for these areas in the 90s and even 100. So this really is the only main focus zone that's going to be dealing with the oppressive heat conditions, while other areas of the United States, like the Florida Panhandle, still dealing with this stationary front lingering just to the south of the tip of it. And because of that, it's going to bring in a substantial amount of moisture sitting in this area that could lead to some heavy rainfall across southern portions of Florida. The northern portions could see 1 to 3 inches. Southern areas could see 2 to 3 inches, and localized flooding is also not out of the question. Speaking of flooding, we just talked about that story with the dust storms in Arizona, and notice Arizona and stretching to the northwest also under slight to marginal risk for heavy rainfall that could lead to flooding as well. With all of that dust that was able to be blown up, that also means that the ground is very dry, and that's not necessarily a good thing. You might think that the rain they could be seeing will actually make it better, but because the ground is so dry, and if we have the rain continue in this zone, that could prevent the water from actually seeping and absorbing into the ground. So we will be watching for some flooding concerns out in this area, especially heading towards Las Vegas. Here locally, though, not dry ground. We've had quite a wet ground kind of day today. Clouds have moved in with that front, and it has been soggy. We've been tracking an early morning of showers and thunderstorms that's now progressing into Michigan, with some of this continuing to stretch down into northern Illinois. We have our first cold front around, but just ahead of that front, there might be a couple more showers as we head into the next few hours. After that, though, we should start to clear things out statewide as we head into tonight and into the beginning of your Thursday. Thursday right now, looking to bring back some more sunshine, though, before we start to see another quick clipper system bring some additional but quick moving rain through the entire state of Wisconsin. Notice the timing of this, though. This is going to be late Thursday night into early Friday morning. Then we should see that move out of here. So areas that could be impacted more so for the morning commute could be northeastern portions of the state early Friday, but that then will move out, and we look to bring back some more dry conditions as we are heading into Friday and the weekend ahead. So our 6-day planner, while it is not going to be the best today, we will certainly see some better sky conditions for the upcoming days. And also, almost fell off my chair there next to Rob. Okay, also looking to see some of those cool temperatures sit with us as well.
All right, well, we've talked a lot of, I won't say negative, but a lot of challenging conditions down into Phoenix lately. This is a fascinating situation. Thousands of bats are on their way to Mexico, but they made a stop in Phoenix. Fox's Ashley Rodriguez reports.
It came as a surprise to the National Weather Service Saturday that all that green on the radar around dusk wasn't rain.
In this case, bats.
Every year, 10 to 20,000 bats fly to Phoenix on their migration path to Mexico. And for some reason, thousands of those bats have chosen this tunnel off 40th Street in the Biltmore area to sleep during the day. And this is where they emerge at night. Let's go check it out.
Photographer Alessa Contreras and I tried to catch a sighting of the swarm. We saw one, and just that one scared us.
Oh my God, there's one.
So far, we can't see the bats, but we can definitely hear them. It sounds like they're in between the slabs of the tunnel. Just listen.
The bats, most likely of the Mexican free-tailed sort, are nocturnal, only coming out at night.
There's a fascination, and fascinations, negative or positive, draw people to go out and experience them.
University of Arizona's Dr. Jonathan Durbridge says these furry flying mammals are drawn to any dark spaces without humans. In this case, the Bat Cave in Biltmore is now their temporary maternity roost, where females incubate their babies until they're ready to fly to Mexico. And for each bat in there now, there will be an extra one flying out.
That number towards the end of the summer is actually going to be slightly larger, maybe significantly larger.
Robert Polk has brought the family to sit outside the tunnel until nightfall to watch the summer swarms, an activity that's captivated humans for centuries.
Coming in at the right time and waiting and being patient, you'll get to see them coming out. Yeah, it would be worth it.
Wow, those bats are fascinating. I've been to Austin where they also have like this bat. They fly out under the bridge, but never anything quite as big as that, and all part of a big migration. Phoenix is experiencing some interesting stuff this late summer and early fall. You hopefully will continue experiencing the Wisconsin weather experts in just 2 minutes. Stick around. We're going to Alaska.
Well, welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. I now have Holly Baker next to me here, switching it out. You're getting a little bit of all of us on the show. And we're going to continue talking more about, we were just talking about the rain actually falling outside, but more on my trip to Alaska, because did you know, Holly, that Alaska has rainforests?
No, when I think of Alaska, I'm thinking of like icebergs, the Titanic, like things like that.
Cold, right?
Yes.
But rainforest you normally wouldn't think about. Let's take a look at this map because, again, I started off in Milwaukee, made my way to Seattle, and this was the beginning of my trip. But I was in southern Alaska for the start of it in a very small town called Ketchikan. Now, what we're going to talk about in terms of Ketchikan is part of a rainforest. If we can look at some of the photos, you'll be able to see a lot of greenery, a lot of trees, and Alaska, in fact, has two temperate rainforests. It's the Tongass National Forest and the Chugach National Forest. The Tongass National Forest, it's the world's largest temperate rainforest. So believe it or not, Alaska does have the world's largest temperate rainforest. It's also known for the high levels of rainfall and moderate temperatures, creating perfect conditions for a rainforest, which contains, of course, lush green forests like you can see in my photos, wildlife, you can see the salmon jumping there upstream, and of course, cold rain. Not a muggy rainforest, but more of that cool rain. There's me outside there just in the rain all day long. Ketchikan is where you're seeing, it's actually the salmon capital of the world and has an average of, get this, 150 inches of rain a year, making it the rainiest city in Alaska and one of the rainiest in the United States. Milwaukee receives just 34 inches of rain a year, so a substantial difference there. In addition to the cool rain, temperatures typically are in the mid-40s to mid-60s again, which is perfect for a rainforest environment to grow hemlock, cedar, and spruce trees. Juneau, which is the capital of Alaska, is also in a forest, which has a great display of green mountains. And Juneau is actually a really unique place. You may have seen the picture of it there. It's actually the capital of Alaska, but there are no roads accessible to get to the capital in Juneau. You have to get there using either plane or boat. So that means that weather is very important in this area because a lot of these also narrow waterways can freeze over in the winter. You saw some of the pictures of salmon, and yes, salmon are born in the freshwater springs. Now they do spend much of their time in the ocean and then swim back upstream for reproduction purposes. They use the Earth's magnetic field to actually navigate back up to these specific locations and lay their eggs. Male and female salmon do die though, unfortunately, after they spawn, since their bodies have used all available energy into a single reproductive effort, leading to a depletion of reserves for them to survive and swim back to the ocean. So really one of my first main towns in Alaska, and even the second, the capital, it was quite different than what I thought. I thought it was going to be very similar to what you said, Holly. Cold, ice, but instead it was lush, it was green, it was wet, and I'm like, what is this? So really took my mind for a turn, and being able to talk to some of the national park rangers about the environment itself and how these conditions help a lot of animals to thrive and survive here. But there is going to be more on my tour coming up where we do talk about ice and glaciers, so you'll have to stay tuned for that next week.
I know, I have to ask you this one question. So you said that you can only get there by plane or basically on the boat.
Yes.
So if there is, in the moments where it's winter and it's cold and it's frozen, does that make that particular area suffer from resources because people can't get to and from?
That's a great question. So actually about 82% of towns in Alaska are only accessible via boat or plane. So we will get more into the plane stuff in another episode coming up. However, you bring a valid point, because if things freeze over, how do you get in there? You can't necessarily take the boats all the times. They do have boats that can chop up the ice and go up north to smaller towns, but some of these smaller towns, like Nome is one of them, they actually dealt with a really scary situation where they didn't have resources before the water froze. They had some teams bring gas up there, but most of the time you have to bring the resources up there for the entire winter in the fall. Or the planes they take in, the float planes, they actually can put skis on the bottom of them so they can land on the frozen waters to be able to get stuff in and out.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I can't wait for you to kind of keep taking us along with you on your trip. But in the meantime, we'll be back after the break. We have just one more thing to get to.
Well, welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. And now, if you have any questions at all, whatever it's going to be, weather-wise, science-wise, we're here to answer it for you. We have a QR code right there in the bottom of the screen. You can hold your phone up to it, open up your camera, click on the little icon that shows up, and that way you can submit any kind of question you have for us. And there's a lot of things we can talk about, not only science-wise, but you may be thinking of farms.
Yes, so there's new technology that is reshaping the way farms operate. So Fox Business correspondent Kelly Sabiri is at a farm progress show in Decatur, Illinois, with more.
This year's Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois features some of the newest and most innovative technology in agriculture. But according to many farmers, the vast majority of them won't be able to purchase much of this new equipment. Across the board, farmers are dealing with low commodity prices due to a pause on critical trade deals. Meanwhile, input costs across the board are up. The price of fertilizer and new machinery has increased, forcing farmers to buy used equipment. But those tools are also fetching a higher price due to their demand and in part higher interest rates.
The trade situation has become very cloudy and we're very reliant on trade. It is the row crop farmer, the grain farmer, that's really experiencing negative returns now. And even the projections are even worse for 2026.
There still remains the anticipation of a new farm bill, which Congress has not renewed in full since it expired in 2023. The One Big Beautiful bill strengthened crop insurance, a core section of the farm bill that protects covered commodities like corn, soybeans, wheat, rice, sugar, and dairy. Farmers here tell me those prices are still too low.
Crop insurance is a tool that we utilize very heavily in the farming world. It's not something we're not going to get rich off of it. It doesn't necessarily make you a bunch of money, but it just make sure that you can be sustainable for the next year.
Now, in order to increase demand for these commodities and raise their prices, these farmers tell me they need to think of innovative ways to use some of these products like corn and soybeans that can be used in different types of fuels and also even creating asphalt. In Decatur, Illinois, Kelly Saberi, Fox Business.
All right, guys, so that was a very cool story, and we have more to come. Cool stories for the rest of the week, so stay tuned with us. We'll be back at noon tomorrow.